Well, thank you for coming on my show, Mr. Walt. And what can you tell everybody about yourself?
Well, I mean, what's the obvious thing, of course.
Well, I can call you Mr. Rogers.
This is what people say. Um, and I decided that in honor of the show, Ryochi, I would put on the red sweater and bring it out so everybody would be able to recognize me right off the bat.
That is awesome. What I noticed about you, Mr. Well, I was about to say Mr. Rogers, sorry. Anyways, you know, you were by the way, I saw it. I don't know many audience stuff, but I saw you on the show This Is Us.
Okay.
Again, congratulations.
Thank you.
And with many other stars on the show. How was it working on set? And what can people probably have not seen you in the show yet? What can you tell people about your role and what was the show about?
Right. Thank you. Yeah. Well, This Is Us. It's kind of a funny story. And did you find me initially through This Is Us or through some other method?
Through This Is Us.
Oh, you did. Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
Cool. You're a fan of the show. You're a fan of the series.
Oh, I'm a big fan.
Okay. Yeah. Well, then This Is Us is set. The script is set in Pittsburgh. And what you may not know is that Pittsburgh is the hometown to none other than Fred Rogers. And as this, the story goes along many seasons. Eventually, one of the writers figured out, oh my gosh, maybe we could do a little Mister Rogers tie-in, and so they decided to have the young kids go to the Mister Rogers studio, and this was in the '80s when Mister Rogers was taping, and it was a huge task for the crew, the set, everything. They built the set exactly identical.
Wow.
I mean, it was amazing. And I should know because I actually built a Mr. Rogers bench right here that I'm happy to be sitting on today in honor of the show. Um, they did everything. I mean, it was down to every little detail. I was amazed. And uh, when they put out, a funny thing happened. I got cast to be on This Is Us as Mr. Rogers. By that point, people in Hollywood had started to recognize me as Mr. Rogers. What am I talking about? It's a weird thing. When I got here back in 2016, okay, I moved out here from my hometown, Denver, and I had long hair. I had long rocker style hair, man. It was a whole different look, a whole different thing for me. And I decided to get into acting and TV and film acting. And so I started getting these small roles, minor roles, non-speaking parts. Many of them were like these alternative type of characters, like surfer, um, homeless. That was a big one. Prisoner, inmate, all these kinds of things. Well, when you start talking to me, you start to find out that I don't really sound like any of those characters so much. And this is something that my acting coach at the time pointed out to me. And he said, listen, well, if you really want to get the good jobs where you're playing a detective or you're playing a lawyer or a doctor or a husband or, a teacher, all these things, professor, president, you got to cut your hair. And, I didn't want to, but I did. It had been years. A strange thing happened. I started going to set with the short hair. And there's a little game that happens in Hollywood. You've probably played it. Everyone
Mhm.
plays it. They look at you, people look at you, and they say, you know, you look a little bit like, oh, I don't know, Adam Sandler or this or that. They come up with something they think is kind of in the neighborhood.
Right.
And immediately, right off the bat, I started getting Mr. Rogers. And it was like an avalanche, partly because I hadn't had my short hair for so long
Hmm.
that I kind of grew into this kind of like older dude, Mr. Rogers kind of look. And I didn't notice it. I didn't notice it at the time. Okay. Anyway, I did a little YouTube thing like what you do. And I decided to kind of document my journey. I created a little web series. I called it 21 Days to Fred. I think it's probably still up on YouTube somewhere. 21 Days to Fred. You can go and you can watch it. There are 21 little micro episodes, 3, 4, 5 minutes of how I cut my hair. People say regular people, and then I kind of transformed into Fred. And by the end, spoiler alert, I get a lookalike agent,
Wow.
because there are such things, if you can imagine that in this.
Mm.
If you look just like Leonardo DiCaprio, you're going to get some work. Or Tom Cruise, you're going to get some work. You're going to be able to do parties. You're going to be able to do speeches, all kinds of things. If you look just like Obama, oh yeah, you're going to get to, and you can do the voice. You're going to get some work. So I had put this whole thing out, 21 Days to Fred, and this and that, and I'll be darned. Within a few weeks, uh, the job came through the casting, circuit, and people started calling me out. Hey, Walt, we just saw a listing for a Mr. Rogers. You should apply for it. You should audition for that. You got to get that Mr. Rogers thing. So I did, and I'm thankful to say that I got it. So it was really fun to be on set.
Well, I saw it. It was amazing. It was wonderful. Congratulations.
Well, thank you. Listen, it's the show, and it's funny with the writing. I got a chance to meet the writer, okay, of the episode. His name's going to come to me. And while I was striking,
Hmm.
I was over at Warner Brothers and I was striking, and I would wear this sweater. That's another story. I would wear the sweater while I was striking, and this person comes over to me. He's like, "Hey, it's so nice to see you in the sweater." I'm like, "Oh, okay, yeah, thanks." He's like, "I wrote your episode." What? Wait, oh my gosh! And then I remembered his face. I'd met him that day, and really a super cool dude. And I guess for what the tricky thing about writing that episode is, it's not the Mister Rogers neighborhood show.
Hmm.
It's This Is Us. And the focus is on these kids and their relationship with each other and what's going on with them, you know, emotionally. Excuse me.
You're
Um,
okay.
yeah. So they didn't want to focus on Mr. Rogers so much, and they didn't want Mr. Rogers to take over the show. And
Right.
so, quite honestly, I think they did a really good job of keeping it very subtle.
Well, the TV show, This Is Us, it's amazing. I watched it from the very, I still watch it, and it's every episode, every because it goes to different persons, different characters, and every different scenes. And of course, like I mentioned, there's a lot of big stars in there, and and non-big stars as well. But there is, and then of course you're in there. But this, all the stories talks about, this situation. This is what they're going through in their lifestyle. And what's so interesting about the TV show This Is Us is that they're going through people's real life situation. And that's what I like about the show. And that's what you brought up about Mr. Rogers. It wasn't really focused on news about the kids. And that's what I like, because the kids are going through something in their situation in their real life as
Right.
well. So again, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, that was the cool thing about it. So what's funny about that episode is, you as an actor in Hollywood, you can't count on playing Mr. Rogers exclusively in all the different shows. Um, like you can't be Mr. Rogers on The Crown, and you can't be Mr. You know what I mean? So
Right.
pretty limited. Um, but we started, the big historic actors strike that just got settled. They just ratified it. All the actors voted in favor of it, 79% in favor. It's fantastic. And now we've got a new contract for 2023. But the strike that went on through the summer and the fall was just historic and monumental and everything. And I was out there on the picket lines, of course, in July as soon as we started striking. And I just went out just like everybody else, they give you out these SAG t-shirts. But same thing started happening. People say, "Hey, oh, it's Mr. Rogers from This Is Us." I'm like, yeah, okay, yeah. So now people recognize me from that. And then suddenly one day I got I got an idea. I was like, you know what? What if I put on the sweater for a day and I'll come out, we'll do some selfies, we'll have some fun, and we'll see what happens. And it was an enormous hit. Everybody loves Mr. Rogers, as it turns out, and everybody loves taking pictures with him. And so we suddenly now every day I was Mr. Rogers. Now suddenly I was going to all the different studios, all 7 different studios of Warner Brothers and Universal and Netflix and Amazon as Mr. Rogers. And it turned out to be, oh, here we go. I even brought this out of retirement here. And what was nice, this is the actual picket sign I was out, picketing with. And what I kind of liked about picketing as Mr. Rogers is that I could easily spread the message of Mr. Rogers.
Mhm.
Kindness is the answer. And I felt like, if these two sides could get together, could sit down and talk to one another,
Right.
we could get a resolution. And then another thing, we figured out that Mr. Rogers is Mr. Rogers' neighborhood. And so when we figured out that labor rhymes with neighbor, it's a beautiful day in our neighborhood. And won't you pay our labor?
You know,
So
I heard you singing on your Instagram on the strike, and your voice almost sounds similar to the real Mr. Rogers.
well, thank you. It was very kind. He was a fantastic musician, and I don't even hold a candle to him. He was a music major. I mean, this guy was so incredibly creative and accomplished. He's one of the great men of all time. I am just, he's fantastic.
Hmm.
But it's nice to be able to spread his message at
Right.
whatever level I can do that. So anyway, that's the Mr. Rogers thing. Now, Mr. Rogers would always start the episode by coming in with his suit jacket,
And
and
takes it off.
yeah, he goes to the closet and he opens up the closet. And there's all these various sweaters. He picks out one, puts it on, and he comes over onto the bench and he sits down and he takes off his dress shoes, and then he puts on his topsiders, his little sneakers, and I figured I would do it in reverse.
No, it's good. I like it. It's amazing, for me, I know it sounds weird. People may be watching this after I say this, but for me, it seems like I'm really actually talking to Mr. Rogers.
Well, thank you. Yeah, Mr. Rogers, he's an amazing personality. What I found out so much about him was that he's so gentle and kind.
Hmm.
And if you really do a deep dive into Mr. Rogers, which of course, I grew up with Mr. Rogers. I watched the episodes as a kid, so I was totally familiar with his whole program. And on This Is Us, when they asked me, they said, "Hey, we want you to do the puppets," because it wasn't even in the audition, as I recall, that I was going to be doing any of the puppets. And excuse me, I've got a little friend here that wants to be in on the action. Um, I thought, wow, I'm not a puppeteer, and I don't know about doing puppet voices and everything, but I'll try it. And I had to get into it, man. And I had to do a deep dive on that. There's so much to Mr. Rogers, and he is such an interesting character. So I encourage everybody here today watching this podcast to spend a little time looking at the real Mr. Rogers. It's fun for me. I'm glad you're here watching us, but the real Mr. Rogers, phenomenally interesting person and a real American saint. Of course, the other big thing is that there's a great there's a documentary called I think "Won't You Be My Neighbor," and then I'm over there striking at Paramount one day. Same thing happens. Somebody taps me on the shoulder. They're like, "Hey, I wrote a film about Mr. Rogers." I'm like, "Oh, okay. This is probably somebody wrote a short film." Like, "Oh yeah, what was it? A Beautiful Day in Your Neighborhood. Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood with Tom Hanks." Yeah, yeah, I wrote that. He said, and I was like, wow. So it was really profound experience to get to meet the writers of these shows and these episodes. Fun.
And how does it feel that a lot of people are now recognizing you as Mr. Rogers?
Well, it's a mixed bag. I kept thinking when I cut my hair, people would, and my acting coach told me at the time, "Oh yeah, George Clooney. That's what it is, George Clooney." Nobody says George Clooney. Everyone says Mr. Rogers. So um, it's just one of these things. I couldn't be happier, really, because of all. Excuse me, I'm getting over a cold. Um, of all the people that you could wind up looking like, it sure is good that you look like America's kindest person of all time. That's great.
Well, like I said, I didn't grow up watching Mr. Rogers, but I saw briefly about it, and like you said, you were right. He was very kind. He came in, took off his coat, and put all that stuff on. But everybody on the strike, I'm glad it's over. I'm glad they found a really good deal. But happy note is I hear people, I could be wrong, but I hear people walking with you and they're like, Mr. Rogers, Mr. Rogers, and it's like, and there you are singing on your Instagram story and you're singing about what you showed on your poster. And it's like, wow, people is like, this is like the real Mr. Rogers walking. But it is, you're wearing your thing, you have people walking with you.
Really,
And you're
nobody could have been more surprised than me that this was happening. It was shocking to me, but in a way, it wasn't. After maybe a week of doing Mister Rogers on the picket lines, I really started to recognize that one of the things that's going on, and why are people responding to Mister Rogers? Because there is a lot of pain on the picket lines. I mean, here are people almost entirely made up of dreamers, people that have come to Hollywood with a dream, with a such a 1 in a million chance at stardom, and they believe in themselves. And it took everything for them to get here to do this: the time, the classes, the headshots, all the work that they had to do to get to this point. And suddenly, unexpectedly, out of the blue, the studios pull the rug out from under us and we don't have a contract to work under. Wow, shocking. And now suddenly we're on strike. And no money's coming in for anybody unless they're lucky enough to have had residuals from things. Um, it was a catastrophe.
well,
So when people saw Mr. Rogers, if that could make them smile, even just in that moment, it was worth doing.
well, like you were saying, it was a very sad shock. I agree with you. I couldn't believe it. My mind was unfroze. Right? I go to LA almost every summer. I was actually in LA during the strike. And but think about it, it's just TV shows and talk shows and movies and everything was on pause. And everybody is so furious and so upset. But also, they all have dreams. These are young kids, high school kids, college kids, elderly, all ages, they're going in this march. And one thing I noticed in my personal opinion is your attitude. You're going out there, and it's not just you. You have other people going out there, and they're smiling, and they're marching. And first, when you see pictures on TV, on internet, and on Instagram, you see all these people with sad faces. And they're upset, and they're going and they're marching in circles in New York and Chicago and Dallas and Phoenix and all these big cities to support the SAG. And then you notice it slowly takes a while, maybe 2 weeks. You start seeing people slowly smiling, and they're still marching. They're singing, and they're all this stuff. And then also, it goes on, and then where you come in, and other places as well, but especially you go out there and you be Mr. Rogers, and you're singing, and there's people walking with you, and you see a big smile with and I know it sounds wrong. People, please don't be upset with me, but it sounds weird, and not you, but other people. But you people are walking with you, and you have them on your Instagram story, and they're smiling and they're marching with you, and you see people walking in, they're smiling, and everybody. But one thing I noticed is the smile is spread, and it went from there to Chicago to New York to Florida to Dallas to Phoenix and Seattle and San Francisco. You see people smiling, and they're smiling, and they're going, and they're protesting, and it kept growing and growing and growing and growing and growing. You have people who from a different state, they're like, well, I'm flying to California to march. And you're like, wait.
I ran into a lot of people like that.
Yeah, and you're like, you're flying. Where are you flying from? And
Mhm.
it's like, oh, I'm taking a week off work. I'm going. I'm just going. And you're like, okay, but and they said on the news that the streets were almost crowded with people protesting, they're smiling, and once the deal was made, everybody was going excited, and the thing is that that's the good news, for now. And that for me is amazing that everybody got involved and everybody's going, and we're a family. And to this is how I view it, is that people say this entertainment industry is a competition, and I say no, it's not. It's not. We're a family. We are 100% a family, and it doesn't matter what state we live in. We could be living in the same state. We could be living 2 hours away, or 4 hours away, or 5 hours away in the same state. But we're all a family. We're all in this entertainment industry. And one thing I noticed is that we all came together in all different states to spread, to understand there is a problem. And that's where everybody was like in shock. They're like, wait, we thought entertainment industries, a lot of entertainment actors are against each other, but they're not. They're out there supporting each other.
Well, certainly there is competition, on certain levels. But when everybody has their back up against the wall, suddenly we're all on the same
And
team.
that's what I was trying to say. Yes.
And that was definitely the case. And there was a lot of teamwork. It required immediately. It required a lot of volunteer hours, and a lot of my friends that I know from acting class or from other situations jumped in to help out. I worked during the pandemic. I worked for an organization run by Sean Penn, the actor. It's called
Hmm.
CORE, Community Organized Relief Effort. And we were the people that worked with the city of Los Angeles to do the first COVID tests, and they were drive up COVID tests. And so we ran these things. I worked with them for 2 years. Then when the vaccine came out, we did the vaccines at Dodger Stadium, did like, I don't know, 600,000 vaccines administered through the mass vac sites. And there was such a team of volunteers. Eventually, they would pay us too, but these people that just wanted to help, they just wanted to do something, they just wanted to defeat this horrible virus that nobody knew what was going to happen. Um, and then, of course, you know what happened. Eventually, we beat it. What's interesting is, as soon as the strike hit, a bunch of those people, because there were a number of people in Los Angeles from the entertainment industry that couldn't work during COVID, and so they went out to volunteer. A number of those same people, suddenly I started seeing on the strike lines immediately, and they were the ones that picked up the cause to become what they call strike captains, where they would put on these vests, and they would make sure everybody was safe, everybody was hydrated, they had food, they were not getting hit by cars, all kinds of responsibilities. And these strike captains, within just to feed off of what you were saying, as people started getting happier and smiling more, they initially, it was all business, but within a couple of weeks they kind of became camp counselors. and it was all one big giant summer camp
Mhm.
on certain levels. We had theme days. Some of the, like over at Paramount, they would have a theme day every day. Be a different theme every day, and that was the case at all these different studios, and so it kept the enthusiasm and the interest up, and the spirits up. It was good.
That's good, and I can tell people's spirits was 100%.
Yeah.
They were very happy and very, you know, very enthused, and that's the thing, and that's what I loved. And of course, and it's just how we all came together. That's how mind blowing I was, and also, also you think about it in my brain is that we all came together. It doesn't matter what our beliefs were, what our political views were. We all agreed on the same thing, and that's what I loved about this. I'm sorry, my mind went blank, but everybody was going there for, and everybody was coming together like a family, and that was a
Yeah,
very
no problem.
happy moment.
Everybody had a role to play in the process, and for some people, they couldn't come out and strike. I talked to many actor friends. I was like encouraging them, like, "Hey, I'm out here. You look for me. I'm in the red sweater. Come on out, walk with me." And some people they just couldn't do it. And getting back to just what a financial burden it was to be out of work for 118 days, plus plus the writer's strike, plus getting ready for the writer's strike. Basically, work has been shut down almost the entire year here in Los Angeles, and it's that's been very difficult on so many people. Um, but now we close the chapter on the strike, close the chapter on 2023, and hopefully 2024 has a lot of good things to come.
Yes, that's what I'm hoping for. 100%. Um, so my next question for you is, do you have any other upcoming projects?
Well, upcoming projects. Yes, yeah. There, golly, I just did a couple of auditions this week. I mean, it's really great to suddenly get auditions. And it's been a while since I had two auditions in one day. I mean, that's unusual for a guy like me. Some people get five auditions in a day. It's routine, but not for me. Both of these are really good. One of them's on a major network television show where, well, I can't say anything about it.
Right, totally understand.
I hope it's, I'm waiting here. When we're done here, I'm going to be checking my emails. Did I get it? And then this other one, it's a movie, and with a very big name producer director, and they're asking me to play an American president. I'm not going to say which one, but you just have to imagine what he played.
Well,
And so,
by me looking at you,
yeah, which president would you think it is?
you do look like a president.
Thank you.
By wearing this suit right now, I'm not gonna lie. I, again, this is me saying this. You look like Mr. Rogers.
Yeah, there you go.
Now, like I said earlier, I'm talking to Mr. Rogers. Now I'm talking to the president of the United States.
Well, this particular president isn't the one that you might think I would play, but we'll see whether or not I get it. Fingers
Like,
crossed.
I can't
Fingers.
wait. I'm hoping you get that role. Can't wait to see it. Can't wait
And
for
then,
the audience to see it.
at the end of last year, there were some cool things that I got to work on. I mean, probably the coolest thing that I got to do, which wasn't a big deal. I didn't get any lines in the film, but I got to be a body double, um, uh, and work on Indiana Jones 5. And I got to be on. If you've seen the film, I got to be on that plane towards the end of the film. Where there's big tussle, wrestling, all this stuff. And this guy, Walt Keller, got to wrestle with Harrison Ford for the day, putting this scene together. It was really cool, super fantastic.
So how was it? How was it like working with Harrison Ford?
Well, you know, they make us sign all these things, so we're not allowed to talk about it. But I think it's fair for me to say that this guy is fantastic. I mean, he's a superstar. He's a A-lister. Not all A-listers are necessarily great people. You know, they always warn you, maybe you shouldn't meet your heroes. Harrison Ford is definitely one of my heroes. I mean, when I was a kid, and you know, I'm so old, I remember the original Star Wars. I was a kid. I got to wait in line to see the original Star Wars in my hometown, Denver, Colorado. There was a great movie theater called the Continental Movie Theater, and it had this giant screen, 70 millimeters. And I remember waiting in line outside, huge line to get in. And then when I saw that movie, it absolutely changed my life forever. And I always wanted to be in the movies after that. Now, I would do other things in the meantime. I spent a lot of time doing other things, but now I'm back to pursuing that original kind of concept. And in that movie, Harrison Ford stole the show for me. I just thought he was the greatest. It was awesome. But when I got asked to do this thing on Indiana Jones 5, and you know, I walk into the soundstage, and here comes Harrison Ford dressed in his, you know, brown pants, his leather jacket. You know, he's got the whip tied around his belt, and you know, he's got the hat. And he walks right over to me, and he shakes my hand. He says, "Well, you're in the next scene. What's your name?" You know, and I mean, he's just the greatest. He's got to spend the day. He's superstar.
That's amazing. Thank you for sharing the audience about it a little bit. And I understand, you signed the contract and everything. So,
Yeah, you
um,
know, these NDRs, they don't want you to say too much about anything. I don't think I'm giving anything away by saying he's a good guy.
no, I do appreciate it. Um, no, I know a lot of people. I call you Mr. Rogers, or the person acting like Mr. President. What do you do when you're not acting, when you're not sitting on that bench on your free time? What do you do?
For fun?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, for fun, you know, I'm your classic SAG member, SAG-AFTRA member. I'm right now. I'm in the midst of all these screeners. You know, as a SAG member, you get all these movies sent to you on DVD and or you know little codes that you put in, and I'm watching movies one after another, and it's really great because the movie this year, because of the strike, it all got delayed, and so we're like we're cramming. Our homework is cramming for the next few weeks so we can get the SAG Awards up and
Mhm.
running and everything on schedule.
And also, mind me saying this, but you're a runner.
Yes, I'm a
And
runner. Yes, I do love to run. Yes.
so when you're running, do people say, Mr. Rogers?
No, no, I don't think that happens so much. But a couple of the people here in my little neighborhood, you know me as that or whatever. We've had conversations about it, you know. But and for Halloween this year, it was fun. The kids came around, and I put on the red sweater because you know I had it that day. I had just come back
Right.
from the cooking lines. I was like, oh well, this will be fun. And the kids were like, oh, I don't know. But the parents saw, oh, it's Mr. Rogers, you know. So that
Then
was kind of
then the kids figured it out.
yeah, yes, yes, yes. So
Uh,
everyone was on board after a while. Yeah.
that's amazing. Well, it's just all this, the roles you've done, you played, and the strike you've done. People are knowing you for that, and of course,
And
uh,
of course, I wanted to tell you that I performed in a show, one of your favorite shows and franchises,
oh,
Criminal Minds.
oh yes,
Yeah,
I love that show.
yeah, I know. And I was in season 13, episode 18. I played Professor Steve Conti.
Yes, that's what I was about to mention, kind of toward that way. I remember that you were in that show, and
This was early on in my little TV and film career, so I had the long hair, and so
that's what I was thinking, and that's where, to be honest, where I saw you first, and I was like, okay, this is good. I understand, and then I was like, hang on, he's good, And then to be honest, I saw you, This Is Us, and I saw your face, and I said, wait a minute, hold on. So I had to press record on my TV where your scene is on This Is Us. And I said, okay, now let me get on my iPad and go to Criminal Minds and watch this show. And then I paused and had to put my iPad next to the TV. And I said, okay, is it me going crazy or this is the same person? And I looked and I said, wow, his hair's missing. And then that's when I was like, this is the same person.
I'm very lucky. I mean, I have probably I'm going to count them up, which I haven't because I kind of started working TV and film in 2017, and so now we're talking about 6 years. I think my math's right there, and it's dozens, maybe a couple of hundred shows or films that I've been in, and some I've appeared in a lot, others not very much at all, and some I've worked on a lot, but didn't hardly appear in. One I think of is a movie called Ford versus Ferrari, and oh my God, that particular deal paid for my health insurance that year because I worked like 26 days, which is a lot of days to work on a film,
Wow.
and it was terrific. It was terrific. It's a great film, and but you'll never see me. I know the scenes that I'm in, but no, nobody can see me. Others, I'll get a text or a message from somebody like, "Oh, hey, I just saw you on, this show or that show," and oh, okay. Because a lot of these things that I work at, they're small and it's just for a minute or whatever, and I don't get a chance to go back and see. Like for instance, I'm working on a show, an Apple show right now, called it's called it's, For All Mankind. For All Mankind, right? It's a space show. It's about the space race, and not to give anything away, but in this latest season, there's some interplanetary kind of things. So I get to be an astronaut in there, and I don't know how much I'll be seen, but we'll see. We'll see. I got to be. Somebody said they saw me in a really great scene I got to work in with Jennifer Aniston called
Wow.
The Morning Show. And let me tell you what, Jennifer Aniston, wow, she is so gorgeous. She's just so
Amazing.
gorgeous. She's just amazingly gorgeous and sweet and kind and generous and nice and talented. Oh my God, Jennifer Aniston. I go to sleep at night, just close my eyes, Jennifer Aniston. That's it.
That's amazing.
Great.
That's
And
wonderful.
so, I mean, I get these opportunities from time to time to work with my heroes, like on Westworld, which was a great show on HBO. Did you see any of that Westworld? Did you see any of that? Back in the days when I worked on it, mostly I had the long hair. I played cowboy in the saloon there, or whatever. And the guy that was in there for part of it was Sir Anthony Hopkins. He's a knight. Anthony Hopkins is. In addition to being a fabulous actor, he's knighted. Do you think he lets us call him sir? Under no circumstances. You have to call him Tony. And he's the kind of guy that he's like a hero. I mean, he comes over, he talks to you, he hangs out. Oh my God, it's the best ever.
Wow.
So I've really
Amazing.
gotten a chance to meet some very cool people, and it's been a really fun time here in Hollywood. I've enjoyed it immensely.
Well, I can tell you're having a great time.
Yeah,
And,
it keeps me going. Yeah, it keeps me going
yeah,
for sure.
and all these roles that you've done, I've saw. And
Well, and you're very lucky, Ryochi, because here we are right at the cusp where my career is about to explode. But it's funny. My best friend from high school, I was out here for about a year, and I was talking to him on the phone. I was like, oh my God, I'm in acting class and it's so hard, and I got to learn how to do these scenes and these characters, and you do all this introspection. He's like, yeah, well, I don't understand what's going on. I mean, I figured you would have a series by now. A series. You don't have I mean, and he was serious. And I'm like, dude, they just don't hand those out when you show up at the city limits to Los Angeles. Oh, here's a series for you, and here's a series for you. Anybody else want one? Oh, well, you, sir. Okay, there you go. Yeah, no, that's not how it works here. It's very tough. Takes a long time, and
Right.
I, I joke,
100%.
I joke, but I do hope that 2024 has a lot of good things happening. We'll see. I'm going to keep at it
Well,
because
yes.
that's what you do. You have to stick with it. You know
Passion.
exactly.
Yeah, it's 100% passion, you know, 100%. Well, Mr. Raw, and Mr. Rogers, it's always been an honor having you on my show. Um,
Well,
and
thank you. Yeah, it's been great to appear on your show,
I would
and
I would always love to have you back anytime.
we'll have to do it again.
Yes, please, we need to. And I'm being serious because and I love interviewing actors from A-list to non A-list, and it's just amazing, phenomenal stories of all the roles they've done and all the stories they tell, and for you is I don't know why, but I'm really focused on you as being Mr. Rogers because you are bringing happiness, and this is like I said from my view is I saw you bringing smile with people walking with you during that strike, and every day I see on your story you kept posting, you kept posting, you kept posting, and that's why I shared some of those because you're bringing happiness and people, you're smiling, you're singing with your side, and it's still on your Instagram, and that's what I noticed. You're singing the song but you're changing the words.
Yeah, exactly. It's a beautiful day in our neighborhood, and yeah, everyone go to Walt Keller Instagram. Follow me. I'll follow you back, and we'll get things going together. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
You know what I
thank
like
you.
about your podcast actually is this. One of the many things is that you do have a variety of people on your show, and you're not stuck in the rut like a lot of these guys are, where they'll only talk to A-listers. you know okay, you had me, but you'll have just a few people from all sorts of levels of the entertainment business. Of course I kid, but I like that. I like that you're giving people a voice that otherwise might not. And I was really thrilled to hear that you wanted to have me on your show. So thank you for having
Well, thank you for coming on, and I look forward to having you back on my show. Thank you so much.
me. All right, my friend. We'll
I
see you
will
next
talk to you soon. All right, bye bye.
time.